We are 3 hours away from hearing about President Joe Biden's top priorities for 2024 in his State of the Union address. Our chief political reporter, Amanda Rooker, is one of just 7 local reporters from across the country invited to the White House to talk to senior officials before the president's speech to Congress. She's showing us what the White House is gearing up for tonight and what Iowa Republicans want to see and hear.
I'm here at the White House for a very big night in Washington, D.C. President Joe Biden is preparing to give his State of the Union address. KCCI is one of 7 stations across the country invited by the White House to talk about what the president's message will be tonight and how it will impact Central Iowans. I spoke to some top White House officials who say this speech really comes at an inflection point, that the president will focus on talking about threats to democracy, but he'll also talk about what he sees as his top accomplishments and how they've impacted Iowans' lives.
We're creating good paying jobs, good paying union jobs, and I hope that Iowans can see that and feel that, and so the president certainly is going to talk about that. He's going to talk about lower costs over corporate greed. He's going to talk about patience over big pharma. Right? He's going to talk about protecting our democracy, American democracy, over hateful rhetoric.
But Biden's address also comes as Iowa Republicans say they do not want to see 4 more years of the Biden administration. We spoke with some Iowa lawmakers about what they're watching for in Biden's address tonight.
We're 3 years in. We have more than, we're going on upwards of 8 million illegal entries. And the challenge right now is that we have completely lost leadership in the White House who now wants to have a strategic reset but can't share any of the details. I'm hopeful tonight that we hear a plan, but I am fearful that we're going to be in a situation which is a lot of talk and zero action.
And tonight's State of the Union address is also particularly significant because it comes in the middle of a presidential election. So we also expect the president to speak directly to millions of Americans tonight who are considering whether they'll keep him in that Oval Office for another 4 years. From the White House, Amanda Rooker, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.